heard from my dad a lot as I was growing up. Think for yourself. Think for yourself. It's a bit of a command, maybe a scolding, maybe encouragement. It was rather difficult to put those words, that good advice, into practice around my dad. Because he wanted me to think for myself. He didn't seem to really enjoy it when I did, understandably, as parents. He wanted me to stand up for myself and be confident, and I appreciate all of that. I get that that's what the message was about. And I started to put that into practice when I left home. And how I began was just to turn my back on everything that I'd been brought up with and just go directly opposite direction. Leaving the church that I'd been brought up with and trying out some very different values and thoughts and way of looking at the world. Went off hitchhiking and had all kinds of adventures. So it was fun, for sure. I'm not sure that I was actually thinking for myself. I think I was more just going the opposite of everything that I'd learned. So it was very reactive in that sense. Well, I had a conversation with my sister yesterday on this subject, and did she remember our dad saying that? And she didn't. So maybe it was mostly directed at me. But when we talked about thinking for yourself, we were, well, how do you actually do that? It can be so confusing. So many different ideas and thoughts, like how do you know when you're having your own thoughts about something, and how do you know what you're really feeling? And there's also this fear of getting people angry, and how can you think for yourself if you're at the same time, trying to please people and wanting to fit in? So it can all get very complicated. My sister told me that what she does when there's issues that just seem very confusing to her, and she pays attention to a lot of the general discourse about norms and stereotypes and what we consider politically correct, and she really wants to think through all of these things. And so she says she just gets by herself and just sorts through it all and really talks to herself. What do you really think about it, she says to herself. And you know that the people who are holding these ideas aren't bad people. It's something that's what they're trying to sort out. And she calms herself down and lets herself just sort through it and arrive at a viewpoint that for the moment kind of reflects what she's feeling. And she goes, yes, I think I feel this way. I feel pretty good about this. So there's a feeling involved as well, where you know that your thoughts and your thinking reflect who you really are, who you feel yourself to be. And this is an important point because it ties into that idea of integrity, having integrity. We talked about that for a little while too. How does integrity connect with thinking for yourself? And what does integrity mean? And she said, and this might be true for you too, she used to think that integrity meant being good, being above reproach, being someone that you look up to, like a leader in some sense. They have integrity. But she says, no, what integrity means is you're true to yourself. You're being yourself. That's sort of the opposite of trying to please people. Well, that gave me something else to think about. That's another little aspect of thinking for yourself. Now, I've been practicing, when I try to think for myself and sort through things, I find meditation helpful. Just calming my mind. And sometimes it helps me to get in touch with that calm sense, like the ocean. I love going for walks along Bonnybrook and seeing the horizon way off in the distance and the sky overhead, and it all just stretches out, and there's so much space, and I find my thoughts are calm, and I'll get a new thought and it'll just pop up, and it'll be very satisfying in that environment. Another thing that I've started practicing is really paying attention to my dreams. This is something that Seth advises, a multi-dimensional being intelligence who was channeled by Jane Roberts back in the 1970s, is that in your dreams you can connect with a larger part of yourself and get lots of good advice. And I've been doing that, and I think that works because in my dream self, I am being more of myself. There's a bigger part of myself to connect to, so of course that makes sense. So these are some useful practices. Just sitting down and talking to yourself, or meditating, going for a walk, paying attention to your dreams. This can all help to connect to yourself and think for yourself. So you know that what you're thinking is what you're really feeling. You're thinking for yourself. Now, I want to add one more situation to this, to just flesh it out, make it a little fuller, and bring it into kind of regular life. Now, in Toastmasters, and I've been a member for about 5 years, it's a very supportive learning environment. And I'm finding that I'm learning to express myself, how I really feel about things. I'm thinking for myself, and I'm expressing for myself, and having this environment, this really supportive environment where people are listening. They're not going to judge what I'm saying. They're not judging my thoughts. They're just helping me to communicate them more clearly and to really say, what do you mean? And what am I really trying to say? And this is the practice that really rounds out this whole picture. I think it's great it's great that I'm learning to think for myself, and also to have a community, and a supportive community, where I can express what I'm thinking and get this really helpful feedback that what I'm saying is what I'm meaning. This is, I think it's the icing on the cake, or it's how everything ties together. And it makes it so worthwhile for me to learn to think for myself.
Hey, what do you say?